Before the sun could rise over the skies of the Middle East, US B-1B fighter jets took off in complete silence. Like a hidden Houthi missile launch network buried deep within hostile territory. Experts have called this one of the most in recent memory. But the real question is, what kind of mission was the US executing with such secrecy erased without a trace? Let's uncover the answers together. Long before the first bomb dropped, the operation was already in motion, on the ground, in the silence, and with At a forward US air base in the Middle East, ground crews worked under the cover of night to prepare a fleet of B-1B and E-Strike Eagles for a strike that had to be flawless.
Yeah, tell me do this all the time, like it's on purpose or something.
Weapon had a target, and every system needed to work perfectly. The B-1B bombers were armed, or JDAMs, which are GPS-guided bombs designed to see. Alongside them, technicians loaded GBU, powerful bombs made to destroy deeply buried command centers or fortified bunkers. Heavy lifting in this operation, breaking through concrete and steel to reach enemy infrastructure. Each step of the loading process followed a strict vehicles moved munitions into place, while specialists verified connections between the bombs and they checked targeting links, confirmed GPS calibration, fully operational. Even a single mistake at this stage could lead to mission failure, or worse. The F-15E fighters were given carried laser-guided bombs and air-to-ground missiles, suitable for striking radar stations or electronic jammers. Their role was twofold: by cleaning up any remaining threats and defend the strike formation if needed, accurate and responsive in high-risk airspace. What made this phase even more intense was the secrecy. Lockdown. Only mission-critical personnel had access to the flight line. With near silence, just the sound of toolkits, radio codes. Outside, the desert was calm, but inside the perimeter, it was all motion and focus. Completed, pilots began arriving in full flight gear. In briefing rooms, they reviewed real-time intelligence, including drone communications intercepts. They studied their flight paths and profiles. Every crew member needed to understand not just their own but the broader mission timeline. Timing was everything. The strike would happen at a very specific before sunrise, when enemy operators were likely to be active, but this would give US aircraft the best chance of success while minimizing exposure. From the munitions crews to the mission planes could mean the difference between a clean hit and a missed opportunity. The real power behind US air dominance, not just in the aircraft, but in the precision, training, mission ready. Before a single engine roared or a bomb dropped, the battlefield was already shifting. With everything ready, the formation, heading deep into hostile territory. Loaded and final checks complete, the mission moved into its next critical phase, launch and entry into hostile skies. The planned hour, engines came alive in the dark. The deep roar of the B-1B's 4 jet engines shook the ground as the bomber 15 E-Strike Eagles rolled into position, their afterburners glowing like fire beneath the wings. This was an active strike package, flying in tight formation with one clear goal: to deliver precision firepower and return safely. The flight plan was calculated to the second. Pilots knew their role profiles. Each aircraft's path was designed to reduce its radar signature while keeping communications. The B-1B led the strike group. Built for long-range missions, it could carry a massive payload while flying. Its wings adjusted automatically for better maneuverability at different altitudes. While it moved through the sky, radar and satellite navigation systems worked together to guide the aircraft over ridgelines, through valleys. The bomber flew high enough to stay safe but low enough to remain. Supporting the B-1B were the F-15E fighters. These jets were not just with their own targets and responsibilities. They used terrain masking to stay hidden from enemy radar. That meant following the curves of hills, using natural cover. Their weapons were ready, their targets confirmed, and every second of the flight was monitored by AWACS, electronic warfare aircraft, such as the EA-18G Growler. These platforms used advanced jamming systems to block or... As soon as any radar pulse was detected, the Growlers responded with signals that disrupted targeting systems. Like cloud gave the strike group a critical edge, especially as they crossed deeper into contested airspace. Aircraft was constant. Pilots' position updates, radar status, and target confirmations. Data from satellites, ground phones was funneled into mission command centers in real time. From the moment the first jet lifted off, the entire operation became a moving web of machines and humans working in sync. To potentially hostile airspace, the strike force didn't meet any resistance. There were no enemy aircraft in the sky, and radar defenses on the ground either failed to detect them. This was a direct result of careful planning and overwhelming coordinated warfare. Invisibility is not just about stealth. It's about time to act before the enemy even knows you're there. By the time the formation approached the release point, every system had done its job. Laser guidance systems came online. The target and the strike was seconds away. The bombs would soon fall, and the battlefield... Everything moved fast. The bomb bay doors of the B-1B Lancer opened in sync, dams, and powerful GBU-31 bunker busters. Exact coordinates. Now, all systems were green. The commanders dropped cleanly from the aircraft. Within seconds, they were streaking toward their targets hundreds of feet below satellite data and onboard targeting systems. The bombs corrected their path mid-air to adjust for wind and movement. The targets were not random. They included underground command bunkers, infrastructure used by enemy leadership to coordinate attacks. The impact was immediate. Direct hits. Massive explosions lit up the early morning sky, followed by thick plumes of smoke rising from the enemy zone. Infrared scans showed secondary detonations inside some bunkers being hit. These weren't just surface-level strikes through reinforced concrete to disable operations at their core. Strike Eagles executed the second phase of the mission, moved to engage mobile threats and secondary targets. communications hubs, and vehicle convoys trying to relocate after the first wave. Using laser-guided bombs and air-to-ground missiles, the fight hitting targets within meters of their intended points. Surveillance drones confirmed the and several armored vehicles in the operation zone. Electra 18G Growler provided critical cover throughout the strike, as enemy jamming systems blocked the signals, keeping the strike group invisible. This offensive aircraft made the entire mission possible, ensuring that in contested airspace. The whole engagement lasted less than 10 short time. Key elements of the enemy's command and control structure were limited. What made the strike so effective was not just the firepower, but the timing. Intelligence analysts had picked the moment carefully. Communications and satellite movement patterns, they believed enemy leaders would be on site during early morning hours, only to destroy infrastructure, but also to disrupt enemy leadership. And in modern warfare, seconds matter. The U.S. military can detect, plan, and execute an operation with. There was no buildup, no warning, and no time for the enemy to react. They realized what was happening. The attack was already over. As the dust began to settle, live multiple locations. Dark. Enemy radio traffic fell silent. The chain of command had been broken, and the strike group made it home. And getting out was just as critical as getting in. Completing the strike was only half the mission. The other half was getting home. As soon as the final bombs hit their targets, the strike group began its coordinated exit. Altitude, and electronic cover all had to come together to engage safely and without being tracked or attacked. The B-2s to reduce fuel use and increase radar range. At the seas, adjusted their paths to form a defensive screen. Were ready to engage any last-minute threats, but the skies remained clear. Thanks to earlier jamming efforts by EA, stars were still disrupted, which gave the strike group valuable minutes to retreat without detection. Airborne surveillance from AWACS aircraft pilots. If any missile system had activated, or if enemy fighters had taken off. But none came. The quick sub. The enemy had no time to recover or organize a counter. During the return, KC-1 in the air to refuel aircraft mid-flight. These refueling operations allowed the jets to avoid unnecessary landings and stay ready. Even during formation, scanning the skies and keeping defensive systems online. Back at base to guide the aircraft in. Each plane landed in a planned order, one after another, with minimal delay. Maintenance teams quickly flight data was downloaded for review. Meanwhile, pilots moved to the missions and received post-strike intelligence updates. What stood out of enemy targets, but the fact that no U.S. aircraft was damaged or lost. This outcome highlighted the efficiency and the integration of multiple aircraft types with specialized roles. In just a few hours, the U.S. territory and returned without leaving a trace in the air. For military analysts, this was a text. From mission launch to safe return, every move followed a strict timeline and used advanced systems to reduce risk. It was about controlling the pace of the battlefield. The strike also sent. The U.S. doesn't need to deploy ground troops to make an impact. With the right tools and intelligence, disappear before anyone has a chance to respond. But the real impact of this operation reached felt in command rooms, capitals, and rival strategies across the region. It was not only measured by the targets destroyed, but also by the message it sent across the region. No U.S. losses and all objectives hit. Its true impact reached. It was a calculated show of strength aimed directly at America's rivals, especially Iran. By launching a fast and precise attack, the U.S. reminded its adversaries that it's on the ground. It demonstrated that when it comes to timing, coordination, and effectiveness. For Iran, the signal was clear. Supporting proxy forces like the Houthis, and those consequences may arrive without warning. Defense analysts believe this strike disrupted not just local operations, but all and Iranian handlers. Reports showed us following the bombing, along with changes in leadership movements and logistical routines. But they pointed to a wider disruption within the proxy chain of command. Boosted morale among U.S. partners in the region. Country, which faced regular threats from Houthi missiles and drones, saw the option committed to regional stability. After weeks of increased attacks on Red Sea shipping lanes, the U.S. it was willing to act. Debate within the Pentagon and Congress. Is it time to rethink how air power is used in modern conflict? Operations like this one show the real value of rapid, targeted airstrikes in today's hybrid warfare. Instead of large, now rely on smaller, smarter missions to manage global threats. One strike, well-planned, temperature crisis, or force an opponent to recalculate. Another, from drone surveillance and satellite tracking to electronic jamming and precision bombs, this turned limited actions into powerful results. It wasn't about how many aircraft flew, it was about how this kind of efficiency matters, especially when trying to maintain military presence. Finally, the silence that followed the strike may have been the loudest message of all. No bold moves from the Houthis. For a short time, the battlefield went quiet, and that kind of pause and tension is often the best outcome in an era of fast-moving threats and fragile peace. What comes after the strike matters just as much as the strike itself. The strike may have lasted shortly, but its message will echo for years. Military power is often measured by headlines and troop numbers. This operation proved speed and silence. The United States, nor did it need to follow up with a massive campaign. One clean, calculated strike was enough to disrupt enemy planning. This mission was more than just an airstrike. 21st century warfare looks like. Instead of overwhelming force, it used coordination. It used timing. And instead of loud results. U.S. military still has the ability to project power instantly, decisively, and with minimal risk to its own forces, especially those like Iran who rely on proxy forces. Your networks are not untouchable. For regional allies undergirds that America's commitment to stability in the Middle East remains firm. And for military planners and analysts, it offered a clear case study. Limited force missions can achieve results that once required entire battalions. What made this strike remarkable wasn't just what was destroyed. It was how little needed to be done to create strategic impact. A network was silenced, a threat was erased, and a line was reached. Because in today's world, real deterrence isn't always about making noise. A powerful message is delivered in near total silence, precisely, professionally, and without warning. And when the smoke clears, what remains is not just the memory of impact, but the knowledge that it to any threat. And that wraps up what Navy Secret has to share with you today, bringing you the most authentic, by expert analysis from military strategists and political research. This video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support is what high quality, in-depth content. Let us know your thoughts. Tune for our next video. See you then.